Morning, Paul. Lovely to see you.
Morning, Chris.
So, the government's big announcement this week. How do you feel about it?
All in all, very positive and pleased. The key thing is we do have some key dates. We've got a roadmap out of what has been a very challenging time, which we've all debated over time. We could probably spend some time around the detail, some frustrations about certain dates and who opens and what opens, but actually we need to spend this energy in being positive and opening up the business again. And that's probably where I channel all my efforts now outside of the detail of it, really. So yeah, no, it's great. We've got something to focus on, which is perfect.
Yeah, and if we can hit that June date, it'll be a great summer, won't it?
Absolutely amazing. I mean, I think that out of all of it, June the 21st, which is pretty much here we go and everything's open. I mean, that's probably a little bit more than I was expecting, if I'm honest. Understandably some restrictions within that, but like you say, if we can all do what we're supposed to do and behave in the right way as we have done, and vaccines kick in and continue to do the work they're doing, then June will be a fantastic positive for everybody. It really will.
Oh, absolutely. But it must be very conscious. It must have been a tough first 6 months for you since you took on the role.
Yes, in a word. it has been. Like everything, you want to get into the business, you want to meet the teams, meet the clients in person as always, and just get under the skin of it and understand the business. And none of that has really been able to happen. Yeah, I started, and thankfully I started at a time when actually we were able at that time to open some business. So I kind of came back with a bit more of a spring, which said, come on, let's open some business. Let's do what we love doing. And yes, understandable that it's going to be restricted and things, but we can serve some food and some lovely champagne and some wine and etc. And let's get going. But it has been difficult. Haven't seen the true Searcys yet, and can't wait to see the true Searcys when it's all sort of open and all the guns are blazing and we're churning out the events like it used to. So difficult. You're meeting the team via Zoom. That's always a bit challenging, but we kind of got used to the relationship with screen, introductions and things. So we've become a bit more experts at that, if you like. But you can't beat the in flesh and catch up, just understanding the guys. So
it's really interesting, isn't it? I think we've all adapted our skills, haven't we? And actually learned how to build relationships on Zoom as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we weren't very good at any of this sort of screen meetings or anything, just in the nature of the business we run. We're hospitality. I have to say, if there's any positive that comes out of it, is there is a real opportunity to blend both of them now and be a little bit more flexible. And I think that's good. If there is a time when someone doesn't need to come into London and can stay home and can join a meeting as well as the meeting being in person, I think that's going to be perfect. I mean, it lends itself to the hybrid events that are, of course, going to take place. We have already put quite a lot of time and effort of making sure that we've got the right packages around the hybrid events, because they are going to be there on the landscape. They're not going to take the world over, but we've got to be mindful that they're definitely going to have a part to play. Yeah,
look, it's going to be really interesting, isn't it? I think there's a real first. There's going to be a real bounce in events as we come back. There's a real first to come together again.
I think there's going to be a massive bounce back. I mean, we can all take a view about when, and that events are large numbers, so we have to have some caution about when they come back, and we have to respect the restrictions that are going to be sitting there. But there's some very, very strong pent-up energy to want to do activities, events. The weddings alone, we know that people that sadly have put off their weddings for what can be a year to probably a year and a half in some instances, and people are desperate to sort of come back together. We had some good inquiries, so obviously the news this week, actually just before the news, because obviously quite often it leaks a little bit. The phone started to ring, and then certainly since the news, the guys have definitely seen a big bounce with regards to inquiries. Quite a lot of weddings for this year, which is great. So clearly those people waiting just for the off, and so we've got some good bookings coming in already.
Oh, that's great. Now, look, Searcys has always been one of my favourite companies. It's such a great legacy, isn't it? As we talked earlier, a history from 1847. I mean, so I suppose, what's your vision for the business now?
Well, I think, firstly, a great responsibility, I think. And as you say, 1847 crumbs. I mean, that's just amazing. It really is. And, just the history that sits behind it. And here we sit today. But 2 world wars, Spanish flu, now a pandemic, and we're still here, very positive and very, very optimistic about what's going to happen in the future. For me, there's 2 things. I think there is the short-term goal, and the short-term goal for me is bringing the business back together again, bringing the teams back together again, creating a culture, because the culture would have changed just in the nature of what we've all gone through in the last year. And equally, I have a way of running a business as other people do. So I can't wait to sort of bring everybody back together and get them enjoying what they love doing, getting some real momentum over it, and having some enjoyment and having some fun around it. But equally, wanting to grow the business is a given. I think there is a real opportunity to reposition it in London. Using that legacy, using that heritage. We are experts at events. We've been doing it for such a long time. So we should be really, really sort of leveraging against that and looking at the opportunities out there. So, growth is important. Of course it is, definitely.
And you've got a great portfolio as well. I mean, from the Gherkin, what you do, the Gherkin to St Pancras through to Pavilion Road, it's unique, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's 2 arms. So we have what we call the lease business. So that's St Pancras and Gherkin and others, for example, as well as those concession relationship other locations as well. So there is a real desire to grow both sides. I'd love to see a few more champagne bars. St Pancras is known for its longest champagne bar in Europe, and it's so well supported, and the amount of social media activity, even in the lockdown, has been lovely to see, and people commenting, can't wait to get back. So I think there is an opportunity to see a couple more spring up at some stage, which I'm keen to do.
Well, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? To be fair. Now, I suppose the question is, how do you think, for venues, this has been a remarkably difficult period of time. How do you think it's going to come back, I suppose, and how do you think things might change?
I do sadly think we've still got a journey to go on it. I know we talk about the June the 21st, but actually in those venues and event locations, when we're talking about events of 150, 200, 250, 300, the big numbers, dare I say, we're talking about the end part of the year. We are thinking September onwards is probably the timing when that really will start to come back with any gusto. My personal belief is that we will spring back and continue to do with what we kind of did before. I don't think there is a massive change in how the event world's going to operate. And I kind of say I kind of know that because we did 2 world wars, Spanish flu, and all those sort of things. It brings back, and people want to come back together and celebrate and have events and get together. Meetings probably will change, not drastically, but I mentioned earlier, the hybrid meetings and the more flexibility in the way that we can use technology, AVIT, to support all of those. I think the meeting side of things for sure will probably evolve rather than have a fundamental step change. They'll definitely evolve, and that we were going on that journey anyway, so this has probably just accelerated it slightly.
And how do you think the customer is going to change habits?
I think they will be very aware of wanting to make sure they've got a safe environment, that they've got that we are thinking about them with regards to over the last year. So it's for us demonstrating that we've got all of that covered for them, that they have got the comfort that we can operate events in the right way, in the safe way, with the right restrictions. Because I do feel that probably that is around for quite some time. And it'd be interesting to see, temperature checking or, QR codes in pre-registration and understanding the details. I can imagine probably some of that will continue for different reasons, not necessarily the pandemic and the challenges around that, but probably for other reasons as well. So some of that practice might carry on, where there's probably more pre-registration and more relationship with the client in advance of the event taking place.
That's going to be interesting. Now, last year, one of your successes was afternoon teas, wasn't it? You saw real
afternoon teas. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, after for me, I mean, bit of a passion of mine, actually, that and ice cream, funny enough. But afternoon teas are fantastic, not only from a visual point of view and a creative point of view, but they are, they're a treat. And actually, it was something that people wanted to do last year. They just wanted to treat themselves. Yes, we couldn't go abroad and go on holiday. No, we couldn't go to our normal restaurant regularly every week or whatever we wanted to do. So how can we treat ourselves? Afternoon plays to that. Afternoon tea plays to that completely. And actually do believe that that's something that will continue to carry on. And we had several tiers. Some of the prices were, they were getting quite punchy. Champagne flights or bottle of champagne, vintage champagne. People loved it, absolutely loved it. Have a great time, and the environment helps. We've got, as you said, we've got a lovely portfolio, so the environment helps. So it's as much the afternoon tea as the afternoon tea experience as well. So the service and everything comes together with that as well.
I mean, that's why actually it's fascinating how we come back. The service, I reckon, will be even more important. Which I know is your background has all been about service and hospitality, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's a very competitive platform out there, but actually, what do you remember? You remember that person that looked after you or went that extra mile, or, you were going to finish and go to the train station afterwards and they found out what time your train times were or helped you navigate to the tube station. All those little bits, they're the bits that are going to be remembered because, it's competitive. So therefore, from a food point of view, it's all lifted, it's all, you get good quality food now in London. It's a given. We're all experts. And actually during the pandemic, we're also all chefs now, I believe, as well. Whether that's cakes or
that one.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, service will be key for sure, definitely.
But looking back in your career, for those who don't know, I mean, you've been working in the highest establishments for obviously 2 decades. What's been your grid? Yeah. What's been the biggest influence on you? What drives you in this kind of thing?
The people around me, I would say. I love to just to create fantastic teams that are driven and are focused around the same goal. And actually, I have always, I've always kept it simple. I'm a great believer. You just keep it simple. There is one reason why people want to come out and have a wonderful time, and it's because the experience was wonderful, the food was wonderful, and it was good value for money, and I left being happy. All of those things. That how would you feel? How would that experience land with you? And that's always been something that I've focused on from an early on stage. The spaces we operate in as well. Sometimes I have to say to the guys, you gotta pinch yourself sometimes and just look up and realize where you are, because we're guests in people's houses at the end of the day, and sometimes what we deliver, you sit and have an afternoon tea up at the top of the gherkin. It's really special. It is special. And you can miss that sometimes when you're working there day in and day out. So take a breath, have a look, enjoy it again, and away we go. So, yeah.
And I think that's what we've all missed, is those special occasions. I have, certainly.
Yeah.
And actually, you kind of think of how we took it for granted beforehand. I think you're right.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I've made an effort, during this time. I'll go out at the end of the day and go for a stroll, and now we're able to stroll with one other. So I'll make an effort that we can have a stroll with one other and have a good old chat. I'm in London probably a couple of days a week. I look after Searcys. I also look after Portico, and another business as well that's actually been very busy throughout the last year as well. So there's teams to go and say hello to, or clients to bump into as well. So I'm fortunate enough that I go into London probably a couple of days a week, and then we'll walk the majority of it. And it's amazing, weirdly, how many people you can actually bump into that are doing the same thing, which is nice.
And how has it been running 2 businesses during this?
It's been it's been really good actually, and interestingly, it's an escape. So you'll have a big focus one day, and it might be Searcys, and then actually you can come away from it, and then we've got some work we need to do in Portico, and I'll be focusing there. So actually, they play to each other. Portico, interestingly, has been all about service. So in a way, that's fantastic. And actually, it doesn't. It's weird. I said in the early days, it doesn't have the distraction of food. It just has the service and the people piece, and then I can come back to Searcys and then add the food, the fun of the food piece back in again. So they really do complement each other really well. I mean, I've got some great teams. The senior team in Portico are fantastic. They don't really need me, if I'm honest, and it's great to catch up with them. As are the guys at Searcys. They've been there a long time. They are experts. They really know what they're doing. And it's just giving them guidance and the direction, and yeah, it's been good. It's been very good.
So how's the pandemic impacted on you personally?
How's it been? I'll be honest, I have good days and bad days. I think we talked earlier. I'm naturally optimistic person. I'm naturally a positive person, but it does push you sometimes. It's fair to say probably coming out after Christmas was hard. We all had this focus going into Christmas of 2020, thinking, okay, that's behind us now. We're coming back out in 2021 and we're going to open the business and the world's going to be great. And actually, we'll be talking to our grandchildren about what this COVID-19 was all about. And then you come into January and you think, oh, yeah, we're kind of still in it, aren't we? And we've probably still got quite a few months of this, and weather plays a part. We all know that. I'm probably not, I'm probably not one for just in isolation at home in my office. My preference would be around people. So that plays a part when you're at home for, 5 days a week, months on, months out. But yeah, I mean, it's been good, learned about technology and Zoom and all things like that, which, at my age, probably I wouldn't have necessarily done. So yeah, it's been interesting, I think is the word.
Has it changed you? Has it changed your outlook?
It's changed I think it's changed my outlook for sure. I think you underestimate what something like this can do. I just, I can see it now. I sat in the office in March thinking, fine, I'm not one for being challenged with regards to these sort of things. I'll keep soldiering on and let it happen and presume it will go away and carry on. And sat there in March thinking, yeah, fine, okay, I get it if guys need to be at home and all those sort of things, but I'm going to keep soldiering on and it will be gone in, a month and a half. And actually you think, oh, wow, okay, this is quite serious, and maybe we just need to take a step back, slow down a little bit as well. Certainly you can spend this time having a bit more reflection as well. And I think that's really important. And that's giving us an opportunity to do that. And the other big piece for me is about the value about talking to people. I think I try my level best in the week to target, 3, 4, 5 people that I can just ring up, colleagues, friends, and just have a chat, because that's so important, so important, and makes a massive difference. Well-being and, mental health sits on the radar front and center as we've gone on, and even more so as the time goes on. And I think you can't, a phone call, a chat, finding out that you're just, as grumpy as the next person makes you feel better sometimes.
You're obviously quite self-depreciating, Paul. I guess your challenge, and the challenge for everyone, isn't it? It's going to be as you bring people off furlough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because one thing that suddenly struck me recently is you've almost got 2 levels. The people who've been working, whose knowledge has come up a level, and those who haven't, who have actually probably gone back a level. And how do you bring them both together?
Yeah, so we've had a lot in both businesses. We've been talking about this a lot, and there is going to be a real need to phase people coming back and refresh people's memory that this is the norm. How you felt, I personally went back into London needed to go back into London in about June. So I was locked down for quite some time, like everyone else. Went back into June. That was quite scary, and I think we just need to reflect what that was like, slightly concerned about what the travel's like, slightly concerned about how I can go, how I operate, how I work, how you greet people, because you forget how you greet people sometimes. So we need to help navigate people with that. We're doing some workshops. We're looking to do some workshops just to help them with some concerns they might have, some basic guidance with regards to what it's like traveling around London. And I talk London specific, but we have other cities and towns around the UK that operate in the same way. We have we're going to start some drop-in chat rooms, if you like, for people to have a bit of a chat and raise their concerns about coming back to work. And we'll have a mix, and when we also have a mix of people that can't bloody wait to get back, quite frankly, and we'll do any job and we'll come back with gusto. So, yeah.
How about behaviours? How do you think behaviour is going to be as we come back?
We will need to be much more considerate about people's situation, not only coming to work but at home. And I'm not saying we weren't, and I'm not saying we ignored that. But I think one thing that this has definitely sort of come to the light is about how people's home situations really can affect them as well. Everyone talks about working from home, but actually we were forced to work from home. We didn't choose to work from home. And for some people, some guys that, they're sat on their bed doing Zoom calls, it's just not healthy. And we need to ask more of those questions and understand it's not just the workplace. There's other areas of the whole piece that makes this person the complete person when they're at work, and we need to spend some more time on that.
That's really interesting, isn't it? So obviously, to me, you haven't really started yet. You had 6 months in the role.
No.
So once you get going, what's going to success look like for you? What's your aspiration?
I think success, firstly, is seeing all the teams coming back together and enjoying what they're doing, being enthusiastic about what they're doing, talking about what they're doing. Everyone has WhatsApp groups or social media, sharing wonderful experiences, get that buzz back into the business. For me, that will be really, really great. And then second to that is, I said before, I want to see a greater presence of Searcys in London. It was established in London. I want to see a greater presence. I think if we establish that in the short term, and then see growth take from there, really. But I think short term is the biggest goal at the moment. We've got a year and a half before we go back to normal. It's 2023 is really a normal year. So we've got still quite a journey to go.
That's interesting, isn't it? So without giving anything away, what do you expect for 2022?
So we'll get through 2021. And as I said, I think, the last quarter is going to be bumper. It's going to be fun. It's going to be short. It's going to be, we're going to need to be flexible. There's going to be activities that take place. And then 2022 needs to start to see some stability about how we used to trade through a year. It's got its seasons, it's got its trading curves, it's got its activities. Potentially opportunities will start to come through a bit more in 2022. Everyone, clients have been very supportive and understand that a couple of years extension is the right thing to do for your catering partner, because we've just floated through together for the last 2 years, not operating a profit position. So from that point of view, a lot of the opportunities then just get pushed out a little longer. So 2022 will establish more opportunity and tender, from a tender point of view as well. So
yeah, look, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think the hard bit for a lot of people is that they came back this year with expectations of 50-60% against 2019 levels. Then it went down to 30%, and it's probably been revised now. It's going to be a strange journey this year, isn't it, at best?
Yeah. I mean, I go back to the time in January where we thought we were in a good place. We've all done our budgets and done a forecast, and then first couple of weeks of January, talking about schools, and oh crikey, right, back to the forecast, and that was pretty doom and gloom, the first forecast. Yeah, no, it'll be good.
Oh well, look, Paul, it's been a delight talking to you. I wish you every success. I think you're ideal for it. So I do.
Thank you.
Look forward to your success.
Great to catch up, Chris. Thanks for your time. Yeah.
My pleasure. Speak soon.